Welcome, everybody, back to Wire2Wire Sports Podcast, episode 212, the Gene Hates Cottrell edition. I'm already rocking the blue. He's rocking his red. It's going to happen this week. Penn State, Ohio State in Happy Valley. But I do have to introduce him. In the upper left corner, we got Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, College Cottrell.
Gene, I hope you can boast and be happy about your last week being a Penn State fan of this 2024 college football season, because it's always fun up until we get Penn State Ohio State week, and then it's doom and gloom and we go over to the Longhorns, or actually you got the Ducks this year.
I do. We've made an agreement. We've made an agreement on the show that I'm allowed to root for Penn State all year and the team I picked to win the national championship. That's the agreement. We made that agreement.
I don't know if we've made the agreement. Like you said, I don't know if we agreed to it.
We all agreed.
We just kind of allowed it for 3 years.
Unspoken rules.
I mentioned this on Coast to Coast last week. I thoroughly understand how much fun it is to be in Gene's seat now, because I technically have like 5 teams I can root for right now for the national championship. Because Michigan's out, I can still root for them. Penn State is technically my hometown team. I only root against them when they play Michigan. And I picked Georgia and Ohio State to make the championship game. So
you can't root for Ohio State, bro. Absolutely.
Bro. You get to make no rules here with what you pulled off the last 3 years about who can root for what and who can't.
You can't root for Ohio State. You're a Michigan fan. Cottrell, can I get a ruling on that? Is he allowed to root for Ohio State?
You're a Penn State fan rooting for an SEC school year after year to win a national championship.
Because I picked them to win the championship.
I picked Ohio State to win the championship.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. I wouldn't root for Ohio State if I picked them to win it all. And last year, you know what's crazy? But let's introduce him. Scholastic Shally, Uncle Shally, Mr. William Shallcross. Call him Doc. Lowest runs given up on the season. My guy is dealing on the mound.
Next Tuesday, if everything goes well, we could be adding a nickname. I might start just walking around going by Cy Young Shally. We'll see, though. A lot of softball left.
But here's the thing, right? And this is what I don't fully understand from your perspective. Last year, if you don't remember, in January, I said, you know what, Shal? You've never seen a Michigan national championship.
We're gonna do heartstring stuff now.
Did I not root for you?
You did.
All right, that's it.
I'm rooting for you this week, but I'm still saying I understand now that I've been eliminated. I understand like there's so much pressure off my shoulders now, and I understand what it feels like to just sit in that seat that you've been in the last couple of years and just watching college football every Saturday. Be like, I still have 3 teams in the hunt. This is nice. Like I could come out ahead here 3 different ways depending on how the cards fall.
That is 100%. I'm always eliminated. My team's always eliminated. Ever since James Franklin has gotten there, it's okay. He'll get to the playoff this year because there's 12 teams. They'll be like the 8th seed, and he'll blow it versus like, I don't know, the ACC champion will beat us. It'll be some weird shit where Penn State loses because Franklin's running the wishbone on 4th and 2, and everyone knows that. I can't deal with that again. I remember the last time we played Ohio State in Penn State, and they're running. It's a 4th down and 2. They have to call timeout because they're not ready for the play. They come out of the timeout, and they ran like a read option. They got stuffed a yard behind the line of scrimmage. It was just absolutely a brutal play call. I don't want that again. I'm not like – I dealt with Sean Clifford. I dealt with James Franklin. I'm done with that. Can we fire this? They're not going to fire him, too, because they keep winning games.
And they extended him.
The problem you're going to have is now, like you said, with 12 teams making it, they are going to make it, probably like every other year at worst, and that's going to keep him in that job.
I know. It's just frustrating. I will say this though: the offense looks a lot smoother and cleaner this year with the Kansas offensive coordinator that's over there. It does. It looks smooth.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'll get into it when we get down to it. I don't, I'll just save it. I'll just save it till we go over the game.
We got to talk about the World Series. We got to update on the World Series. The Yankees got to win last night.
Scumbag Yankee fan.
Listen, that is absolutely accurate. And we'll talk about that. Obviously, we're not going to just skip over it just because it's going to be someone's you got to be kidding me. But that is crazy, man. I've never seen anything like that before in my life. Where a fan, and by the way, I have mixed feelings about it. You call it scumbag Yankees fan. I'm going to ask you a question, and I mean this when I say this. And Cottrell, I want you to dig down deep. I know you have a little scumbag in you. I have scumbag in me. It's a thing, right? I'm going to ask you a question. It's easy to say, guy's a scumbag because you're watching the Yankees and the Dodgers. But if you were, he was on Barstool today, he was. If you were a Guardians fan and the Guardians were in the World Series and one of your fans was trying everything they could to stop Mookie Betts from catching that foul ball, would you think he was a scumbag? Because I know as a Phillies fan, and I mean this when I say this, I would look for any home field advantage I can. Now, he did it the wrong way. What he should have did is you got to play defense. You got to be a defensive back in that situation. You got to smack the ball down. You're on a higher ground than Mookie Betts is. Hit it. Act like you're trying to catch it. It's in the stands. You can get away with that. Now, when you grab his glove and you rip it open and his other friend's holding back the other arm, that makes it a lot tougher to defend. But that guy did that in Philadelphia. He wouldn't have to buy a beer for a year. He wouldn't.
No, but he wouldn't. But he also would have got roasted. He wouldn't be able to leave his house because there'd be national media outside it waiting to roast the guy too.
Yeah,
that's the difference. And again, there's gamesmanship and there's being a dickhead. And the Yankees fan clearly went over the line last night. Like you said, there's fine like putting your hands up trying to catch a World Series ball. Trying to like before it gets to his glove, bat it away or whatever. That is totally different than trying to like rip the glove off the dude's hand, grabbing his other hand, almost like being like, "Oh, you want your glove back? You can come back in the stands and get it." Like they're two completely different things. And again, and they still get a pass for it. Like they were like, "Oh, looks like those guys are going to get tossed out," and then like the announcers couldn't wait to get off of it and start talking about the game again. Like if it would happen to the Phillies game, the game would have been stopped for a half hour.
Did you see the comments that the announcer said right away? He goes, "Well, we got to give him an A for effort." That's what the commentator said. If in Philadelphia, it'd have been take that scumbag out and shoot him like 100%. That would have been the national. But no, Cottrell, if it was a Guardians, if it happened in Cleveland, what would your thoughts be? Would you think it was a scumbag move?
I mean, still. Yeah, but I mean, I would have been more okay with it because it's helping my team out. Look, you guys already hit on it. The fact that he had to rip the glove open and, another person's holding him back. I mean, obviously it's not that serious, like in retrospect here, because like nothing happened there, but like something happens with Mookie, twist his wrist the wrong way, like finger dislocated, like anything potentially happens there. Like you're looking at a completely different scenario there. So I'm with you guys in the sense of the guy really kind of got off easy. Like they kicked him out of the game and they took their game 5 tickets, but they refunded him. And it sounds like he's really just suspended like for that game. And then next year, I'm sure, I mean, if you're buying tickets to multiple game series games like that, he probably has some money or, a good hook up there. So he'll be back game 1 next year. So
he said he's been in every playoff game in those seats since 2011.
Yeah. So, I mean, clearly he's got the money for it. So, I mean, essentially a 1-game suspension for that when we've never seen even the Bartman play. The Bartman, this is a million times worse than the Bartman play in my mind. I get it. It was a Cubs, so it's different, like different teams and things like that. But like this, the actual
interfering with a Cub catching.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I understand it's different, but this is way. This is way worse
it's not.
Of an act. It's way
worse.
No,
it's not.
It is for sure.
It's not.
It's a worse act. If all things were equal, if this was a Yankee player or whatever, like this is a worse act for sure.
But it's not all things are equal. It is a team that was on the road and a fan tried helping the home team.
I understand that. I'm talking about the act itself. The act itself is worse.
Yeah, I mean, obviously what Bartman did wasn't intentional. So like you could say the act is worse because it wasn't like he was trying to stop a Cub from catching it. But in the history of baseball, this will go nowhere near what happened with Steve Bartman.
You're right. In the history of it, it won't. But this is the first time, and baseball's been around a long hundreds of years, and this is the first time I'm seeing something of this magnitude at this level.
I've never seen anything like that. Never. But I do want to not glaze over the fact that Yankees fans are beating their chest a lot for winning a bullpen game in which the Dodgers, I almost say almost threw.
Conceded, yeah.
Like they almost conceded the game.
You'd almost think they even up the series last night.
Yeah, it felt that way, right? Like the ghoster out tonight and like all that. I don't know about that, bro. Aaron Judge is still like 2 for the series. I don't listen. I'll say this, and I mean this, and I don't mean to say it in a rude way, but winners win. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of guys that just don't know how to win. I say it in softball all the time, in baseball and football. It's very evident and true. Freddie Freeman's a winner. Aaron Judge is a good ball player. I wouldn't say he's a winner. Am I fair to say I would listen, if the moment is big, give me Freddie Freeman over Aaron Judge any day of the week?
I mean, I don't think Aaron Judge is like a loser per se. I think Aaron Judge
not a loser.
I get it, but what I'm saying is I don't think Aaron Judge I think Aaron Judge went into a slump at the worst possible time, and trying to get out of it in the middle of the World Series is just not ideal. Freddie's a guy who's been clutch his whole career. I mean, we've seen Aaron Judge be clutch a lot as well, but Aaron Judge is the one that's going to take the heat for a lot of this, and he's awful right now. Don't get me wrong, but you could blame what you want on him and his lack of hitting. It's still not hiding the fatal flaws that team has. And there's other people in that lineup that aren't hitting well as, either. I get it. The MVP, he's the face of the team, blah, blah, blah. I get it. Like I said, he's going to take the brunt of most of it, but they have one pitcher. Aaron Boone's been outmanaged. There's a lot going on. And on top of that, the Dodgers are just really freaking good. And they pitch better. And that's the difference in the series right now. And I don't why anybody's throwing Freddie Freeman strikes right now is beyond me. But there's a lot going on here. It's one of those things. I don't think you can put all of it on Judge because there is 8 other guys in the lineup. There's pitchers. There's everything else going on. But at the same time, to your point, like Mookie's won before, Freddie Freeman's won before. This is Shohei's really first chance at winning, and he's playing with one shoulder and still gutting it out and figuring it out. So I never like to use the sayings like they want it more or anything like that, but I think the Dodgers are just playing better than playing harder, and New York they don't have a spark. To your point, like if you would have woke up this morning and didn't know what the series was, you would think they forced Game 7 last night. I mean, you couldn't find a Yankee fan anywhere for the first week of the World Series, and now they're everywhere. They won a bullpen game. After you cold a night, I don't know where you're going. So it's gonna be real interesting.
Bill, I think you just gave Aaron Judge a pass, low key.
Yeah,
not give him a pass. I'll say this: it's the reverse of the other way. This is the argument that I get in all the time. Like Derek Jeter was a great player. Derek Jeter gets put on these lists that he has no business being on because he won 5 World Series on teams that were loaded and better than everybody else. Doesn't make him a better player. He was just on teams that won all the time. They had triple the payroll. Their teams were loaded. And to Gene's point, they knew how to win. That doesn't mean Derek Jeter is as good as Ted Williams, which some Yankees fans will tell you, and it's a joke. Like
but I think those are two different extremes though. Like, because you have it would be different if Aaron Jones was playing well. When you have a career average of 198 in the postseason, like this isn't just like a one-off situation. When you're a multiple-time MVP, we expect you to play better in these kinds of situations. So I look at just look through the playoffs, like Juan Soto. Obviously, Juan Soto's had a really good postseason so far. Look at on the NL side of things, Fernando Tatis, guy who we think of that could be a potential face of the league. He had a great playoff run. Now, obviously, they didn't make it here, but I'm not going to say, it's Tatis's fault the Padres can't get over the hump there. With this Yankees team, I'd argue if Aaron Judge is hitting, I don't even want to say 315, if he's just hitting 270, we're having a different conversation than what we are right now. And then I think the Yankees might even be in a better position than where they are right now.
2 quick comments. If you're a Yankee fan and you're looking for a silver lining out of last night, 10 out of their 11 RBIs were from Volpe, Wells, Verdugo, and Gleyber Torres. If that isn't a spark that you need from 4 guys that are batting below 300 in the postseason, and all of them were batting below 250 before last night, 4 guys that have been batting poorly for them, and they're not their big 3, came through when it mattered. Now, tonight you're throwing Garrett Cole. They're a -150 favorite. They're a team that should win tonight, right? You get a game 6, and game 6 becomes game 7 for LA, right? I don't mean to say this to be a smartass. If they don't win game 6, then all the pressure is on in game 7 for the LA Dodgers. Like you have to win game 6. Like game 6 becomes a must win, because if you go down 3-0 and make it back to 3-3, game 7 for all the marbles, I think there's more pressure on the home team there. So tonight is a big game. Game 6 is where the Dodgers have to end the series. If they don't end it tonight, I think the Yankees win tonight. I think the Dodgers end it in 6. But if something happens in game 6 where the Yankees find a way to win that game, where Yamamoto comes up small, something of that nature, game 7 would be ridiculous. I guess we all play the what if game, and there's a lot of what ifs that happen, but like there's a path for the Yankees in this situation. There's a path for them in this situation, and the pressure could be on LA in just a New York minute.
You're right. And then I would say on to the flip side of that, and injuries definitely play a part. But when I look at Freddie Freeman is obviously wasn't healthy coming into the playoffs, and not 100% now. And you see how well he's playing. And if it does come down to that at the end of this series, one way or another, if things go how they've been going, no matter who wins this series, we're going to be talking about a star underperforming in the moment. This is supposed to be Ohtani versus Judge, and neither of them have had that crazy game or just consistent, even close to what they were during the regular season. So one way or another, we're going to be looking at one of these stars and talking about how they didn't show up to the plate. Now, I honestly think the Dodgers win game 5 tonight, and I think we're not even talking about this anymore. People are making a big thing about Garrett Cole being there, and that's nice and all, and I get it. Flaherty got shelled his last time out in the NLCS when he had a chance to close it out. But if you're the Yankees and you're relying on Volpe and Torres and all these other guys and not your main 3 guys, and that's where you can't manufacture runs, you're going to be in for a long night, because the top of that Dodgers lineup, they have it going. And I think that the Yankees rely too much on the home run, and in this game here, I think the Dodgers are going to be able to manufacture some runs while also hitting home runs, and probably be closer to what we've been seeing, like higher scoring games. But I'm rolling with the Dodgers here because I think they manufacture more runs, and I think their bullpen arms, the critical ones, getting that night off basically yesterday, I think that'll bode in their favor.
You take the 4 main, and I'll say this, the 4 games in this series, the Dodgers have been better at everything than the Yankees. They've been better at hitting for average, hitting for power. They've been better at pitching, starting pitching, and relief pitching. They've been better at everything. But most importantly, they've been better defensively. And there's a spot in game 3 I just need to bring up because we didn't get a chance to talk about it. In game 3, the Yankees are down 2, or I think it was 3-0, right? Aaron Judge hits a ball on the screws, but off the end of the bat, it goes to left center field. It's caught. Giancarlo Stanton doubles, smokes a ball, right? The next guy up is Jazz Chisholm, who hits a sinking line drive in which Mookie Betts took a half a step back, still made it in to make a diving catch. The next play, it was probably Volpe, hits a single to left, and Giancarlo Stanton, I don't know. Listen, me and Shally make these jokes and arguments over who would win in a race. I think both of us beat Giancarlo Stanton in a race. That guy looked like he had a goddamn refrigerator on his back rounding second base. I don't know. I've never seen a guy go around second home slower than Giancarlo Stanton did in that game. And then they get a throw. Teoscar Hernandez throws him out the plate. To start the next inning, slowly hit ground ball to Jazz Chisholm, goes under his glove. And it's just the difference in the series. The Dodgers are making the plays. The Tommy Edmonds, the Mookie Betts, they're making the plays. And the Yankees just aren't. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The Yankees just have not been the better team at any aspect of the game of baseball. Shally, am I wrong in anything I said there?
No, I mean, again, we're starting pitching like we knew coming in. That was going to be a huge mismatch for the Dodgers because after Garrett Cole, we said it on our previous show. Where do you go? They, defensively, Dodgers are very good. New York is towards the bottom half of defense. Relief pitching, we thought was going to be equal. Could depending on what happens, Dodgers bullpen has been better. And then we had the same comparisons. Top of the lineups we thought were kind of washed, splitting hairs depending on where you go. Whose bottom half was going to hit? The Dodgers' bottom half is hit. The Yankees have not. Yeah. It's a simple equation. It's 1 + 1 = 2. Like this isn't brain surgery right now. The Dodgers are doing all the little things right, leading the wins. They're not giving New York extra outs. They're not walking people. They're not doing stuff like that. And those are the little things that help build momentum or help steal you a game. Yankees are doing that to the Dodgers, and they're taking advantage of it. The Dodgers are not giving New York those opportunities. And again, this isn't where the Yankees are decidedly better and they're just not playing well and they're letting the Dodgers off the hook. You're letting debatably the best team in baseball. You're giving them all these things. You're giving them free outs at home, like Gene said. You're walking people. You're bringing in bad pitches for bad matchups. And then on top of all that, you're making stupid errors and stupid decisions. You're doing that against the best team in the league. You're lucky it's not over.
Yeah.
They're lucky they're playing tonight, to be honest. But I thought it was, again, New York had to do what they had to do last night, but I thought it was smart for Roberts to just give everybody a night off, just give everybody a rest and say, hey, we go out and steal it. We celebrate. If not, we have 3 guys back to back to back that I can throw out there. We'll win one of these 3 games. The Yankees don't have that after tonight. They have Cole, and then we're going right back to where we were at the beginning of the series. They don't have an answer. So
what do you have? I have Dodgers in 6. Cottrell has Dodgers in 5. Where are you at?
I originally took 7. I would say it's probably going to be 6. I wouldn't be surprised if the Yankees won tonight. I know we talk about Garrett Cole, but I mean, you talk about a clutch guy and a guy who's been there before and done it. He has. So he's at home. I actually expect a pretty big game from him tonight, if I'm being honest.
What a joke by Aaron Boone taking him out with 86 pitches when his last 2 pitches were 98 and 99 in game 1. And then he throws in Nestor Cortez, who hadn't pitched since September 19th, to pitch to Freddie Freeman in the 10th inning. That was an absolute blunder on the New York. I guarantee you Garrett Cole goes until his arm falls off tonight.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's not pitching in the series. So, he goes – the only way you take him out is if you get up big.
Correct.
If you get up big, like big, he's only like 50 or 60 pitches, then I would yank him, and then you probably bring him back on short rest for an inning or 2 in game 7 if you get there. But we talked about the beginning of the series, and you guys both thought Boone was a better manager, and I told you he wasn't.
I didn't say Boone was the better manager.
It absolutely, you can go rewatch the show. It absolutely came up.
I did not say Boone was the better manager.
You did, but it's okay. I know confidence in him as an in-game manager. And Cortez, first game, you bring in a guy, to your point, who hasn't pitched a month, and you bring him in against a lefty who is one of the few lefties in the league that hits lefties very well, sitting 350 or something like that in the last 2 years with runners in scoring position against lefties. And then you bring him in. It might be.
I'm like 650. It was 9 for 14.
Something like that.
So dumb.
It was just something crazy. And again, you bring him in and he pikes a fastball and that's it. Game. You just can't do stuff like that.
I think the bigger problem I had with that was them intentionally walking Mookie Betts to get to Freddie Freeman, because what that does not allow you to do is you can't miss the strike zone. Because if you get behind, you can't walk him if the bases are loaded. You can't do something like that. And I don't know why you thought bringing in a lefty to pitch to Freddie Freeman instead of bringing in a righty that's warm in your bullpen to pitch to Mookie Betts with first and third. I would much rather pitch to Mookie Betts righty than I would pitch to It was a
mistake. At that point in the game, was Clay Holmes in the bullpen?
No, he was already used. He was used in the 8th inning.
Who was the one in the bullpen?
I mean, I don't know specifically who was left, but Clay Holmes was used.
Yeah, I don't remember who was left in the bullpen either, but
I know I wouldn't have brought in Nestor Cortez to pitch to him.
I mean, first game back, that I wouldn't put him in that spot. If you use him in like the 5th, 6th, understandable, but in that moment,
they actually burned Clay Holmes in the 6th inning to get 2/3 of an inning. He pitched 5 pitches in that game.
Nuts.
Yeah, but got to move on. We'll see what ends up happening tonight. We'll talk about it. We'll recap it next week. NFL had a lot of things that happened this past week. A lot of stuff that happened, and we got to touch on a few things. First and foremost, I do want to, I do want to take a second to talk about the young developing or non-development of quarterbacks in the NFL. Anthony Richardson was now benched. Anybody that drafted him, number 4 overall, and he's played 10 football games, had to know he was a project when you drafted him number 4 overall. Now, listen, if they listen to Wire2Wire, they wouldn't have took him in the first round. We told you the kid was a project. We watched him at Florida. He cannot throw the intermediate routes. I've screamed that from the rooftops. Throwing an out or a slant is just not Anthony Richardson. He could throw a bomb, and he looks really good with his shirt off, throwing the ball 80 yards in the air. But what he cannot do is he cannot read a defense properly and he cannot throw intermediate routes, slants, outs, crossers, stop routes, like 7 routes. There's a lot of routes he cannot throw in the route tree. So drafting him number 4 overall and sitting him for a year might have made sense. Let him learn the system. Let him get used to it. But no, they started him. They played him 4 or 5 games. He got hurt because he's running the football way too much. He missed almost the entire last season. Gardner Minshew looked way better with that offense. Coming into this year, they start him again. He gets hurt again. Joe Flacco plays a couple of games. They bring him back. He goes 10 for 32. 10 for 32. They haven't been a quarterback this inaccurate since Achilles Smith. Statistically, he's on a lot of really bad lists as far as his accuracy goes. But you look at Bryce Young, you look at Anthony Richardson, you look at a lot of these young quarterbacks that get drafted in top 5 to situations, and what ends up happening? They don't allow them time to develop. They don't sit them behind a veteran quarterback, and they just throw them out there, and then immediately they're labeled bust. And then what happens in the NFL is a good coach gets their hands on one of these quarterbacks. Guys, I'm sorry. Baker Mayfield's a good quarterback. Geno Smith is showing you again he can be a good quarterback. Sam Darnold is playing good football. There's nothing that changed except their area codes. They're playing for different football teams with different organizations that utilize their skill set. Justin Fields was 4-2 this year. These are all guys labeled bust. They're awful. Katra, I know you have some words on this. We talked about it pre-show. Give us your take, where your thoughts are on this, and how you would like to see some of these young quarterbacks brought along.
It's tough to say like how I would like to see them brought along, but I just look at even like more recently than like Baker, like let's say 2021, for example, you have that Zach Wilson and Mac Jones and Trey Lance, like that class there. Trey Lance got 1 game as a starter there, and obviously injury happened and Brock Purdy took over. So like that situation is a little bit different, but a former number 3 overall pick never really had a shot to even take over an offense there. Zach Wilson, I will say, he had ample opportunity to be good there in New York, or at least have the opportunity to showcase something while he was in New York, and he never took advantage of that opportunity. Mac Jones, I mean, he was in New England for a few years, and next thing you know, he's gone. Like, these are quarterbacks that got drafted in 2021, and I look at it on the flip side of, like, I think we all can agree before the year started, we said that we think Daniel Jones stunk. Like, we thought he was a bad quarterback. But now that I'm like seeing all of this unfold here, I'm almost thinking like, hey, well, the Giants know for sure Daniel Jones either is or isn't our guy moving forward. Like there will be no doubts left whenever they make that decision about if Daniel Jones could have been that guy or couldn't have been that guy. You look at now Bryce Young from last year and then Anthony Richardson this year. If Anthony Richardson gets traded before the deadline or gets traded in the offseason, the Colts are going to be wondering what if for the next 10 years, because you just don't know what you have with them. And I get it. The Colts have a better roster, and they really should have been in the playoffs last year if they would have kept Jonathan Taylor in the football game and threw him a ball in the flat instead of their backup running back. They would have made the playoffs last year. So I get it. Like you feel like your roster is good enough to be a playoff team this year, and you don't want to just give that away by playing a guy who's not better than the backup. But at the same time, like, you can't just give up on kids. Like you said, Gene, you knew coming in, Anthony Richardson was a project. There is no way in hell you took him number 4 overall and he wasn't accurate in college and you just thought he was going to magically step into the league and start throwing the ball directly at players' chest and things like that. So I don't know what you could be thinking there. And then on the flip side of it, you go to Carolina with Bryce Young. You bring in a coach that, well, you had a coach there who didn't want Bryce Young to begin with. Yep. And we talk about it all the time on the show, marry the coach to the quarterback. Take it a step further, the following year, you bring in another coach that never once said, we're going to build around Bryce Young. We're going to have this system, and basically we hope Bryce Young can fall in line. And that's not going to have success there. And you can't do that with these top level guys. And I don't know if it's that the talent isn't as good coming into the draft, because it felt like every year, yeah, you'd have a couple busts at quarterback, but there was always 2 or 3 guys who are going to come in and be studs. But now it doesn't seem like that's the case. So it's interesting that scouts are even coming out telling quarterbacks, hey, stay in college an extra year, stay until you're 21, start a couple years there, because the NFL is not in the business of developing quarterbacks. So I don't know how we fix it, but we're in a bad spot right now as far as quarterbacks go.
Shai, before you go, and I want to ask you a question, because every day, I agree more and more with Deion Sanders saying, hey, listen, Shedor's not going to certain situations. It's just not going to do it. This feels to me, and I don't know how many guys watch Showtime, the Lakers documentary, like the fun, when Magic sat in the room and they're like, you're going to play for – you're this is the draft. It's not free agency. You're going to play. He's like, well, I could go back to college. He's like, I could do that. It feels like that is what's going to happen in NCAA football. If you watched Anthony Richardson's last year in college, and guys, you're the college guys. Maybe I'm wrong. Does Kentucky ever have like this world beater type defense? Like, are they like a juggernaut on the defensive end?
No. I mean, they're usually a good team, but no.
But if you watched Anthony Richardson play Will Levis in college, they played number 12, played number 20. Anthony Richardson was 14 of 35 for 143 yards with 2 interceptions with a 2.6 QBR versus Kentucky. Will Levis was 13 of 24 for 202, 1 touchdown, 1 interception with a 33 QBR and a lost fumble. And you thought these quarterbacks that were coming out of college were pro ready? You're out of your freaking mind. Out of your mind. Yet, here we are. In both their careers, they're labeled as busts. They're done for right now. Will Levis lost the starting job in Tennessee. It's the first year he started, gave him 6 games. New coach, didn't matter to coach to the quarterback. That's it. Will Levis is done. 2nd round pick wasted. Anthony Richardson's on the bench. That's number 4 over pick last year. It's done. He's not going to play for Indianapolis again.
That your coach essentially handpicked, because Steichen was there at that point.
Correct. And it's absolutely embarrassing. And we talk about Zach Wilson, right? And Zach Wilson, we know, isn't a great quarterback, but like, talk about a bad situation to walk into. The Jets are a train wreck, dude. Defensive coordinator, head coach drafts a quarterback. Oh, yeah, we'll figure it out. Like, I don't understand. And Chicago's doing the same thing yet again. Matt Eberflus, man, I was right all along. The guy stinks.
Tried to tell you.
You were right. Listen to his press conference versus Dan Quinn's press conference after that football game was baffling. He goes, I wasn't worried about the 15 to 20 yards they got before. We're trying to protect against a touchdown. Well, guess what, dummy? If they don't get the 15 or 20 yards, they can't reach on a Hail Mary. That was the dumbest. Dan Quinn literally went in that press conference like, they're talking about the Hail Mary. He's like, well, actually, what was really important was getting that 15 to 20 yards right beforehand because that got us in a position to where Jaden could throw the Hail Mary. And you got dummy Eberflus, and they're like, I really wasn't worried about that. And then you look at his players on the field making mistakes. Like, granted, I understand he got back in the play and tipped the ball. I get it. But Tyreek Stevenson taunting the Washington crowd while the play is going on, dude, and they're going to fire Eberflus because they're going to fall. They're going to finish last in that division because the other 3 teams in that division are just better. They're going to end up firing Eberflus, and Caleb Williams is going to have another coach. And that coach didn't draft Caleb Williams. Whereas you look at the situation that went on in Washington, hired a coach, drafted a quarterback, got an offensive coordinator to marry right with that quarterback. Look what happened in Houston. Hired a coach, drafted a quarterback, got an offense coordinator in Bobby Slowick, and married that coach to the quarterback. You can make it work in defensive situations. You just have to do it right. And it's not being done right around the NFL. Shal, your thoughts?
No, I mean, I agree with a lot of what you both said. I mean, I think a lot of it's situational. You know, like you said, you look at Zach Wilson and you would say he's not a world beater, but wasn't in a great situation whatsoever. Mac Jones went to New England, no weapons, kind of the end of the Belichick era, like all that crap going on. But the problem is you see teams, you see the Jaden Daniels, you see the CJ Strouds, and that's unfortunately what every team thinks they're getting. And I don't know if it's they talk themselves into it. I don't know if it's them bowing to the fan base if they're sitting at number 4 like Indy was. I mean, like, we have to take a quarterback. When Indy's a weird thing because you had Peyton Manning and you had Andrew Luck. But, I mean, ever since then, it's been a carousel of Jim Irsay, kind of putting himself in situations he shouldn't be, and they haven't figured it out yet. And like you said, Richardson, if you had 2 eyes and you have a basic understanding of football, and when I mean basic, I mean you have a genuine idea of the rules and how the game kind of works. You knew that kid wasn't a number 4 overall pick. He just wasn't.
Yep.
And again, if you still want to take him there because you fell in love, like Gene said, with the arm, with the body, with what he's going to be able to bring to the NFL game, that's fine. You had to know damn well that kid wasn't stepping on that field week 1. Yeah. You have to go in that season giving everybody pause, being like, listen, Minshew's going to play all year, no matter what our goddamn record is. Minshew's going to play. Anthony Richardson's going to learn how to play this position. You're not going to see him. You got to go that way. You look at Sam Darnold. He's another great example. Kind of got shuffled around, had opportunities, didn't play well in great situations, though. He now got to McConnell at Minnesota, very structured, plays on a team with a good defense, good weapons. All of a sudden, Sam Darnold looks like a competent NFL quarterback. Trey Lance was another one. That was I think that was the draft we were watching live. I think it was, and we got excited when San Fran jumped up to 3. We're like, this has to be Justin Fields. Took Trey Lance. Trey Lance is exactly like Anthony Richardson. The kid played 10 games in the FCS, and now you're moving up to draft him 3 to be the face of your franchise. He kind of got a raw deal, but again, it was evident when he was on the field. To your point with Richardson, you'd see him throw a really nice deep ball, and then he would throw an intermediate route in the double coverage and throw it right to somebody on the other team. That kid was always going to be a project. You're not coming 11 games from FCS to starting week 1 in the NFL on a Super Bowl caliber team. You're not. It's not realistic. And again, I think these teams, they look at Caleb Williams, they look at Jaden Daniels, you look at Andrew Luck when they drafted him, and there's so many examples of where it does work. Like CJ Stroud is a perfect example. We thought you're like, all right, we're going to start him. We're going to let him take his lumps, but we're going to let him get it all out of the way now because we don't even think we're ready to win year 1 either. Like we're starting to keep building the defense. We're going to let him get all his bad throws out now. But then he just became a phenom. And that's like, okay, well then why can't so-and-so be our CJ Stroud? They don't grow on trees.
No.
Patrick Mahomes don't grow on trees. That's why there's only 4 or 5 of them.
And even past that a year, to your point.
Correct. That's exactly. Like
they sat that for an entire year.
They did. Correct. And that's what I'm saying. They like I don't know. I don't know if the player personnel people are that bad, if scouting's that bad. I mean, listen.
I'll put it this way. If the NFL was the way it is now, Peyton Manning would never be a Hall of Fame quarterback. Because Peyton Manning's first season, he was god-awful.
He was
the record for most interceptions.
Correct. But again, the difference with him is he was another guy coming out of college. He was can't miss. He was Trevor Lawrence. He's in that John Elway, Jim Kelly, Dan Marino. He's in all those things too. But Indy said, hey, we're going to play him. Correct. We're going to suck. Don't have it. This is for the betterment of him and our team down the line. And it worked out that way. Dude's one of the best to ever do it.
Correct.
These other guys, you can't be drafting Zach Wilson, who went to BYU and didn't play against a good defense all year, and then be like, we're going to draft him number 2, and we expect him to win 11 games at the NFL level next year and make the playoffs. Oh, by the way, we have no wide receivers and no running game to speak of, too. And we're just going to do that. Like, it's not realistic. And I hate to say it, but, like, you kind of saw pieces of it this year on Hard Knocks. Don't tell me everybody in all these front offices is competent, because they're not. You clearly have people in positions that don't have a goddamn clue what they're doing.
Devin Singletary, we get him. Same thing as Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, he's
not even their starter anymore.
Yeah, like that's what I mean. Like, so are you telling me there's people in rooms that are looking like Anthony Richardson and going to the GM and be like, yo, that's our guy? I 100% believe that, because there's no way it's not true. And you have guys that are saying that don't know that, their ass from a hole in the wall. Like, they have no business, scouting these kids. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, I promise you, if you took somebody with very, very mediocre knowledge of the NFL and showed them a college clip of Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud, and pick somebody else, doesn't even matter. Which one of the 3 would you pick? I promise you nobody picks Anthony Richardson. No, I promise you. Nobody. And they took him number 4.
But I'm gonna tell you something right now. You know what Anthony Richardson's future is, and I mean this, and I hate that I'm saying
tight end. He's a tight end.
Bro, Taysom Hill. That's what he is. That's what he is.
I mean, it's gonna be in reality. A lot of people, a lot of it was because of the schools. I mean, he's more athletic, but a lot of people talked about him being Tebow because of how inaccurate he was, but how great of an athlete he was. I mean, obviously he's faster, more elusive, and things like that, but you knew what you were getting with him when you saw the numbers. And so for Indy to be just essentially giving up on the kid, and Shane Steichen's press conference was pretty telling. I mean, he basically said, they asked him, do you see Anthony Richardson being, the starter in the future, basically? And he came out and said, I can't look too far in the future here, but I would hope so. Like, I would hope that's the case. This is different than Carolina. Like, Carolina clearly didn't give up on Bryce Young because they said, oh no, we're just sitting him down for now. We're gonna throw him out back out there. We just want to see if Andy Dalton can be our guy for the time being. And they threw Bryce Young back out there, and they're gonna see what they have with him. And if that goes bad, they're probably gonna move on after the season. But at that point, at least they know, hey, this isn't our guy.
Bryce Young's a perfect example, though. I promise you, Bryce Young will be a guy that'll go on somewhere else, sit somewhere for a year, and go to a team that actually has a running game and actually has wide receivers and an offensive line. And all of a sudden, be like, oh, this is the Bryce Young that we thought. The kid didn't forget how to play football.
No.
The blueprint is there, too. You have Baker Mayfield. Like, Baker left. Obviously, he went to Carolina first, but he sat with McVay and got to learn a little bit from him. And then same thing with Sam Darnold. Like, obviously, again, went to Carolina. Probably didn't learn much there. But after that, he went to San Francisco, got to learn from Kyle Shanahan. And then now he went over to Minnesota, and he's with O'Connell, and they, Shanahan, well, not Shanahan, but come from the same tree essentially, because McVay and all that. So he's in a perfect position there. So you take that year, you take your lumps as the backup, and then you go somewhere where you feel like you can compete for a starting job for a year and earn your keep.
Speaking of absolute dumpster fires, I always like looking at this, guys. Do this tickets as low as Like, that's my favorite thing to look at on ESPN. Now, don't look. I want to ask you a question real quick. Prime time game tomorrow night. Houston at New York. Tickets as low as. It's in New York. Houston, CJ Stroud's coming to town. Aaron Rodgers, prime time. Tickets as low as what, Shally?
I'll say $18.
Tickets as low as what, Cottrell?
I was going to go higher. I'm going to say like 35. Tickets
as low as $12. $12. No other. I'm serious when I say this. No other. Like the Browns, tickets as low as 21. They're 2-6. The Panthers, tickets as low as $18. Every other
Titans,
team.
What about Titans, Patriots? What's that?
Tickets as low as $36.
See, that's nuts. That's nuts. You couldn't pay me to go to Patriots Titans game.
The Eagles, Jacksonville, 130. Chicago, Arizona, 140. Detroit, Green Bay, 180. Buffalo, Miami, 150. Dallas, Atlanta, 150. That's what it should be. These idiot, bro, the Jets are dumpster fire. They're 2-6. Oh, and by the way, it's funny because the situation that they're walking into right now, no Tank Dell, or no Stephon Diggs who tore his ACL, no Nico Collins. They're favored tomorrow. They are favored tomorrow. It's so unbelievable.
It's a short week, and I think Sauce is playing too. So
he's stunk this year.
And he's been banged up though. But again, I mean, I think it's just
thinking.
I agree, but
look, at the end of the day, the Aaron Rodgers led Jets are 2-6 now, and it is hilarious to watch. I picked them to go to the Super Bowl, guys. I'm dead wrong here. It is what it is. This team is almost comical to watch. Just lost a game to the Patriots. We're going to preview a couple games, and then we're going to get into our pick 'em. We got a big show this week. Guys, just few games that have to be touched on. The Denver Broncos are looking incredible. Number 2 rated defense. Bo Nix looks better each week. Sean Payton looks like he's married the coach to the quarterback with Bo Nix, who is looking better and better each week. The Broncos are 5-3, playing at the 5-3 Baltimore Ravens, who just I mean, Kyle Hamilton just dropped the game at Cleveland. Jameis Winston threw him a perfect pass directly to his hands. And Kyle Hamilton's like, nope, don't want that. And the Cleveland Browns, which I predicted, beat the Baltimore Ravens in Cleveland. The Ravens go home to play the 5-3 Denver Broncos. Who do you like in this one, Cottrell?
I like the Ravens. I think that the Ravens, granted, take nothing away from Jameis. I think the Ravens shot themselves in the foot a lot of times in that game there defensively. And I think with Nate Wiggins potentially being back, I don't know if Humphrey's going to play, but I think that'd be a big boost for them. And ultimately, I think rookies tend to struggle against the Baltimore Ravens defense. So I think they throw some different things at Bo and make him think a little bit more than he should. I like the Ravens to take care of business in this one.
Shall?
Same. I like the Ravens to win as well. I think it's as good of a job as Sean Payton has done, and even as well as Bo has played. That offense still has limits of what it can and can't do. And I think they've done a real good job of relying on Patrick Surtain, that defense to keep them in kind of low scoring games where they can kind of win it at the end. And listen, that's a credit to them. They are, I would say, if you're being honest, they are way ahead of schedule where I think a lot of people thought they were going to be. I think Baltimore's a little bit of a different animal, especially coming off a divisional loss on the road, go back home. I think Baltimore handles Denver pretty easily.
Well, I am picking this game, so I'll leave my little breakdown for my pick 'em. But I hear you. I definitely hear you. I think that it'll be an interesting game to say the least, but shout out to the Broncos for what they've accomplished so far, being 5-3 already. Next game on the docket, this is probably the game of the week. The Detroit Lions are going into Green Bay to play the Packers. Here's another situation that we need to talk about. I guess we missed it when we're talking about quarterbacks going into situations. Malik Willis has looked like a competent quarterback every time Jordan Love's went out. Now, it looks like Jordan Love is going to play this week, but last week, Jordan Love goes out of the game, and guess what? Malik Willis gets him right down the field, puts him in field goal range to win the football game, and the Packers get a much-needed win on the back of Malik Willis after Jordan Love gets hurt. Your thoughts on this game? This is, in my opinion, the top two teams in the NFC. You got the Packers and Lions. Who do you like in this game? The Lions have been unbelievable, just to be clear, but they're playing on the road at Lambeau Field as 3.5-point favorites. Who do you like in this game, Shally?
I'm picking this, so I'm not going to go super into it. I think Jordan Love's going to give it a go. I think a pulled groin, if you've ever had a pulled groin or a pulled hamstring, it really it limits what you can do. I think if they have clean pockets, I think he'll be able to sit back there and throw. If he's got to start running or anything like that, I think it gets really dicey. I don't know how long you leave him out there and risk further injury, with obviously Green Bay being, a potential playoff team. And with your other point, with Malik Willis playing so well, I don't know how long you leave him out there risking that when you have a competent backup to go back out and play. So that being said, Detroit's looked like a video game team in the last 2 weeks, just going up and down the field, scoring on trick plays, just looking like they're playing playground football. So I think this is the game of the week, in my opinion. But like I said, I'm going to pick it at the end, so I'm not going to give a prediction right now.
I'm also picking this game here, so we'll save a lot of time here.
I got you. I like the Lions in this football game. I'm not picking the game, but I think the Lions win the battle in the trenches, and they've won that battle all year. They've been able to run the ball, and once they force you look at Jared Goff's completion percentage this year, it's just something else, right? You look at the way Jared Goff is, and the reason his completion percentage is so good this year is because they run the ball until you put that eighth guy in the box and they know they're getting man coverage, and they're letting Jared Goff play in situations where he knows the defense that he's going against. I love the way the Detroit Lions are playing football. I like the Lions in this football game. I think it'll be close. I think the Packers are a good team, but I like the Lions to win this game, whether it be by 3 or by 4. I don't know. The 3.5-point spreads kind of scares me, but I'll say this. I think the Lions win the football game.
Fair enough.
And then the last game we kind of talk about on the docket is this is basically a game for the division. I don't think anybody would have thought this, but the Los Angeles Rams at the Seattle Seahawks. Both teams are tied atop the division. The Rams got Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua back. Seattle continues to look good, even though, they didn't have the greatest game last week versus the Buffalo Bills. They got the crap kicked out of them. They have lost 4 or 5 after starting 3-0. Who do you like in this one, Seattle or the Rams?
I'm going with the Rams for the simple fact, like you said, they started 3-0. I believe Seattle hasn't beaten a team yet with a winning record. I think they beat up on a couple, of the lesser teams at the beginning of the year. Stafford, full arsenal, Kyron Anderson, and both having both wideouts back. I think they go in there, they win a very tight game in Seattle.
Seattle's looks really good versus Atlanta and the Broncos. It's just one. With that being said, you're right, bro. You're absolutely right. Seattle's definitely come down to earth, and I think when I'm breaking this game down, I look at the Rams. I think all the momentum's on their side. You get Puka Nacua back, you get Cooper Kupp back. Kyron Williams is playing good football. I give the edge of quarterback to Matthew Stafford. I give the edge of coaching staff to Sean McVay. I like the Rams in this game also. Cottrell?
I'm rolling with the Rams too. I think that the San Francisco 49ers have done themselves a major disservice to this point in the season. You're supposed to be up at least 2 games in division right now, and the Rams have already battled the injury bug and really withstood it. You were hearing rumors about Matthew Stafford potentially getting traded when they only had 2 wins, and Cooper Kupp getting traded, and you didn't know what Puka was going to look like when he came back, but they just took care of business against the Minnesota Vikings team that had looked like world beaters and, really had it going up against everybody. So I think with the way that offense looks with everybody back and the way that they can run the football and work off of the play action, things like that, I mean, I just see the Rams putting up too many points in this one. So I like the Rams take care of business.
All right, guys, let's get into NFL Pick'em this week.
All right.
Ready to rock and roll, my man Cottrell. Hey, listen, I had a 3-0 week. A little happy about that. Getting back to where I need to be at.
Same. And both of you literally went 3-0, and it was literally my worst week of the season. So
we need to catch up to you. You were dominating us right now.
Yeah,
it's only fun when it's close.
All right,
I've been on an absolute downslide in college football after starting 9-3. That's been awful. But Pick'em screen will be up shortly. Then we're getting trivia. Tag your friends. Trivia is about to happen. John Suggs says, give me the Pacers tonight over the Celtics. Okay, there we go. All of us above 500, but Cottrell is still leading the pack. Cottrell, do you want to keep the same order? Is that what we're doing?
Absolutely.
These aren't right, but that's okay.
Why aren't they right?
I got to add up to 24.
You got what?
Me and Gene are both 12 and 12.
Oh, they got out to 24. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Okay.
All right, well, gave you 3-0. 3-0 from last week, still 500. But my picks this week, first game, I like the Lions minus 3.5 at Green Bay. The uncertainty at the quarterback position with Jordan Love is really where I think the Lions will shine. Whether it be Malik Willis in there, Jordan Love, I don't think it really matters too much. Lions have been absolutely dominating both sides on both sides of the ball. What they've been doing as well on special teams has been absolutely incredible. Khalif Raymond took a kickback last week and also had a really long return there. I think the Lions just have a roll. I think they continue to roll in Green Bay. Next two games, I like kind of ugly picks, but I'm rolling with them. I like the over 44.5 Bears at Cardinals. I think the Cardinals offense has started to get it rolling there, and I think the Bears will rebound from that awful showing that they had last week. I thought the offense looked lethargic against the Commanders team. I think that changes against the Cardinals defense that can definitely allow some points there. And then the last game I like the under 43.5 Saints at Panthers. The Saints are averaging 9 points over their last two games. The Panthers are averaging 10.5. And a big part of that is because of Spencer Rattler and Bryce Young. So I think that trend continues. And, with this being a divisional game, I think kind of just one of those ugly football games. And I think you're pretty safe with the under of 43.5.
Love it.
All right. First game for me. I'll get this out of the way quickly. I'm going Detroit minus 3.5 at Green Bay as well. I think their offense is rolling. They're playing the best football anybody in the NFL right now. Again, Jordan Love being a little banged up. I don't think he plays the whole game. I know it's not going to be a steep drop off when Malik Willis comes in, but I just think Detroit's one of those teams that just has it clicking right now.
Yep.
It's nothing really against Green Bay. I'll take Detroit minus 3.5. Second, Atlanta minus 2.5 at home against Dallas. Atlanta's always better at home, drastically better at home, honestly. Dallas is still banged up defensively. Kind of focused on the wrong thing. Starting to get all the rumors swirling. Excuse me.
God bless you, my friend.
Thank you. I will take Kirk Cousins, Bijan, and company at home. And then last but not least, yuck. I'm taking – where's my third pick? Oh, I'm taking the Eagles minus 7.5 at home. Last 2 weeks, you're starting to see it, especially offensively. I think Kellen Moore is kind of really starting to get a feel for what that offense is and what it's not. They're healthy. Jalen has looked a little bit better. It's getting everybody involved. Saquon's been an absolute horse. Jacksonville has not been playing well at all. I think they're going to come here. Then they're going to struggle to score points. I'll take Philadelphia minus 7.5. I think the Eagles win by 10 or more.
I got some ugly picks for you guys this week. Ugly. I'm going to start off on Thursday Night Football. Give me the Jets minus 1.5. I don't know how I'm just going to continue to ride this train until I completely destroy myself. But it's a short week. The Texans are playing on the road without their top 2 wide receivers versus Jets, and they're missing 3 offensive linemen. That Jets defensive line is going to get after C.J. Stroud. This game should be low scoring. I think the Jets win the football game. It's their last stand. Give me the Jets minus 1.5 at home versus the Texans. Number 2, a lot of people make a lot about Sean Payton and Bo Nix. But what's really been surprising about this Broncos team is their defense. And their defense is going to be enough to keep them within 9.5 points of the Ravens. The Ravens show a ton of flaws. And that defense as a whole is not the same without Mike McDonald. They just are not in the right places. The defensive coordinator position for the Baltimore Ravens has been bad all year. Jameis Winston lit them up last week. I think Bo Nix keeps them close. Give me the Broncos plus 9.5. Not saying they're going to win, but I think they cover. And then last but not least, this is the ugliest one of them all. Give me the Panthers plus 7.5 over the New Orleans Saints. I think this Saints team is quit on Dennis Allen. And you watch week after week, that team looks worse and worse. That Dennis Allen, he needs a game to get fired. You guys remember last year, the Brandon Staley game in which the Raiders absolutely kicked the crap out of him and Brandon Staley got fired? This is going to be that game for the New Orleans Saints. I think the Panthers upset the Saints outright. Give me the Panthers plus 7.5 over New Orleans. Ugly picks.
Gene, your motto is normally don't bet on bad teams.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. It's a mistake. I'll pay for it.
This is not you, Gene. I'm just saying.
You're right. Don't rely on bad teams to win you money. That was one of the probably the best advice Gene's ever given me.
But I'm the good news is I'm not betting any of these games. But all right. So here's your trivia question for this week. Turn your chats off. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough. It's fun, but it's tough. As of October 7th, 2024, jersey sales in the NFL, top 10, and I have 11 through 20 in case we get tied. Top 10 jersey sales in the NFL as the report came out on October 7th. I have the top 10. Some good names, some interesting names, some big names. So, a couple guys switch teams. That makes sense. Top 10 jersey sales in the NFL. Cottrell, you won last week. Would you like to go first or second?
I will go first here. And I don't know how I wouldn't be able to start with Patrick Mahomes.
That is number 2.
I will go. I think. I'll go Saquon Barkley.
Saquon Barkley is number 7. One of the players that switched teams.
I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson is not on the top 10.
See,
I can actually tell you exactly where he's at, though.
I knew he would be a questionable one because he's been with them for a while, but
it's actually funny. He's not in the top 20.
Oh, that's nuts.
Number 11 is hysterical, but that's not for here nor there. I'll get there.
Mahomes is off. I will go with. I'll go with Josh Allen.
Josh Allen is he's not in the top 10. He's number 16.
Bet.
I'm going to go with Travis Kelce.
Travis Kelce is Jason Kelce. Is number 12. Not on the list.
I'll go Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels is not on the list.
I will go with Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry is not on the list.
Jesus Christ. I'll go Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams is not on the list.
Jesus.
Not top 20 either.
I'll go
good.
Justin Jefferson.
Jettas is not on the list. Not even top 20.
Wow.
I love how quick you guys are getting them in and out.
I mean, a ton of players.
I get it.
Oh, I feel like I got one.
I will go with Malik Neighbors.
Malik Neighbors. So, not on the list. Now, before you control, actually, let's do one more round, and then I'm gonna give you guys a little hint.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna go with Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers, not on the list. Oh, number 13. I lied. Number 13, but he's not in the top 10. All right. After Shally goes, I'm gonna give you guys a couple hints. Help speed it up a little bit.
CJ Stroud.
Number 1, CJ Stroud.
Oh.
So, reminder, the list came out in October 7th. There is no rookies on the list. I will give you the positions of all the players left. Okay. There is 1, 2, 3 quarterbacks left, 1, 2 offensive, 2 skill position players left, and 2 defensive players left. I don't want to go too, I want to go vague with it so you guys don't but that's 3 quarterbacks, no rookies, and 2 skill position players, 2 defensive players.
All right. Go Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow is number 5.
So that's what, 2-2?
Yep, 2-2.
No, you got. I
2-2.
think
Pat Mahomes, Joe Burrow for Cottrell, Saquon Barkley, CJ Stroud for Shally.
Oh, okay.
I write it down every week so I don't, because I'll forget 100%.
I'll stay here. I'll go Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts is number 6. 3-2.
Okay. Trying to think of. I'll go Jordan Love.
Jordan Love is not in the top 10. He is number 14. Not a bad guess, though.
Defensive players, quarterbacks. You said no rookies, right?
No rookies. The list came out October 7th. I'm sure at the end of the year, you'll see Caleb, you'll see Jaden, but it's from the start of the NFL season.
I'll go Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy is number 10.
Wow. Not who I was thinking, but they're delusional. So I'll go with Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott is not in the top 10. He is not in the top 20.
So how many more do I need?
You need 2 more to win because everyone's gettable. So I don't want to stop it when you get to 5.
Got it.
It's 4-2 right now. $11 will be the tiebreaker if we get to 5-5.
I'm trying to think defensive players. I'll go TJ Watt.
TJ Watt is not in the top 10. He is not in the top 20.
Let's see. New teams, quarterback. I'll go Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins is not in the top. You're done quarterback, by the way.
Oh, we're done. Okay.
Yep.
Fair enough.
There's no more quarterbacks?
Nope. 2 defensive players and 2 offensive skill position players. I'd give 1 hint, but it would be way too much. I just keep that to myself.
I'm going to go with my dude. He's probably not top 10. He's probably like top 20 or something. I'll go with Hutch, though.
Aiden Hutchinson is number 3.
Wow. Is right.
Number 3 is – that's not what I was expecting.
Aiden Hutchinson is number 3.
All right. So I got some work cut out for me. Hey?
Got to go undefeated.
All right. So let's just kind of roll through them here. I'll go with Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase is not in the top 20.
I'll go. I will not like winning the game this way, but I'll go Micah.
And Shally has won the game, number 9. Now, the hint I was going to give is there's 3 players in the top 10 on the same team, but I don't know if you guys would have got the team. It's the Detroit Lions. Number 4 was Amon-Ra St. Brown. Number 8
never got that.
Number 8 was Jahmyr Gibbs.
Would have never got that either. To me,
number 11.
I feel like we would have guessed Gibbs before St. Brown, probably.
Number 11, Harrison Butker.
That's nuts.
You know exactly why he's number 11.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I get it.
Kind of crazy.
That's why I guess Kelsey.
Kelsey was a great guess. Last year, he was definitely top 5. All right, that is our trivia this week. We got through it pretty quick. And
Hutchins St. Brown 3-4 is wild.
The Lions buy jerseys, bro.
They do. I mean, listen.
Amir Gibbs was number 8. Jared Goff was number 18. Like the Lions are buying jerseys. When you have a team that's not good,
because they're good. Yep.
Correct. Exactly.
They probably haven't bought jerseys in a long. They're like, oh, Calvin's going to be here a while, but outside of that, like
everybody's still rocking their Barry Sanders jersey.
Like, we don't know how long those guys are going to be here. So,
all right. Well, we got college football on the agenda.
We do.
Cottrell, I always pass it to you to talk about the big games in college football. But the one thing I want to start with, and we don't have to start with the game itself, but I am super pissed off that it's at friggin' 12 noon. Like, are we serious right now?
Blame Penn State.
100%. 100%. That game can't be at noon.
I mean, right now it's not Penn State's fault. Like in the season, it ultimately goes like to the broadcast crew. But if they would have declared this the whiteout game at the beginning of the year, then there would have been no discussion about it.
So correct. Penn State gets to pick a game they want to do, and then the broadcast companies have to abide by it. It's Penn State's fault because they picked Washington to be the whiteout game. The funny thing is, like 2 weeks ago, I started texting Cottrell because when it looked like this was going to happen, the Washington game got switched. Washington game is not the whiteout game anymore. So I naturally thought, I was like, okay, they're going to move the Ohio State game to prime time. Then to come find out that not only is this game not at noon, so then I was like, all right, well, then they're probably going to take, I don't know why, but I was like, all right, then Michigan, Oregon will probably be the primetime game. They didn't take that game either. Michigan, Oregon is going to be a 3:30 CBS game. So I don't even know what Big Ten game is going to be on at 7:30. I didn't even look, but it can't be a good game.
It's Wisconsin and Iowa.
That's unbelievable. That is unbelievable that's the way that played out. Because I don't think Fox has first choice. So
they don't. NBC would have to have first choice.
NBC has Wisconsin and Iowa.
That's crazy. It's nutty to me. I know there's I know there's clauses in the contract, for instance, that, you know, like Fox gets Michigan, Ohio State every year. Like as long as that game stays at noon, they get that game. Nobody else can take it. But I don't know who dropped the ball this week. I don't. There's no reason.
ABC 7:30 games. A&M at Carolina.
Well, yeah, that makes sense because it's got to be an SEC game. But
yeah, it's an SEC game. That's fine. The Peacock game, there's absolutely 1,000,000% should be Ohio State, Penn State.
Yep. But what game are we going over first this week, Cottrell?
I feel like it's the only game that really matters.
I was going to say, we really don't have any other, we have one other ranked v ranked, but I mean, it's SMU versus Pitt. So I don't know if we.
It's a low key big game.
I mean, it is. It is as far as the ACC goes, but I don't know if that's necessarily big enough to talk about or.
No, we could just go into the main event. It's fine. Leave us a little bit more time to cover some NBA and the UFC recap. We're good. We don't need to. Right. We don't need to force it. You guys have a great show. By the way, you guys have a phenomenal college football show that comes on every Saturday morning that breaks down full college football action. We don't need to force things on this show. We have a show for that.
Facts. These are the facts. So
now I'm going to get big and bolsterous.
Yeah, that time.
I'm going to peacock a little bit. I'm going to let I'm going to let my wings flap.
Peacock chest, yes.
I got Penn State running the ball down the throat of Ohio State. Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes are soft. They've always been soft. They always will be soft. The only thing that worries me about this game is I think Franklin will give it away. But I like Penn State to run the ball with their two running backs and Singleton and Catron. I love Penn State to win this football game, and I think they'll win it on the back of their defense and running the football. Ohio State has showed you, going on the road, they get soft when the game matters. They're going to do it again, and they're going to do it this week at Happy Valley. And next week we're going to talk about Oregon and Penn State being the top two teams in the nation. Give me Penn State. We are probably going to lose.
Go ahead. I'll go last. I'll let you have your rebuttal.
No, I mean, I don't really have too much of a rebuttal here. This is obviously a big game, but this isn't a big game for me because I know what should happen and I know what I expect to happen. I think Penn State is a team that if Drew Aller was playing or if Drew Aller was healthy, like he may suit up. I don't think he is just based on what James Franklin said. Him coming out on Monday saying that Drew Aller is a game time decision. I don't love that at all. Normally you would a normal coach, not James Franklin, would say, we're going to see how practice goes this week. And if he can play, we're going to basically go all the way up into the gun. He came out right away and said game time decision. So don't know why he did that. I mean, that just basically gives Ohio State, pretty much a clear view at either he's going to play and be severely hobbled or he's not going to play. So for me, I'm pretty confident saying Ohio State should take care of business there. As close as that Nebraska game was last week for Ohio State, I think it could have potentially been a look-ahead game because of how Nebraska looked versus Indiana the week before. I think they may have just rolled out of bed and said, hey, we can take care of business against this Nebraska team and not have any problems. And that obviously was not the case, and you cannot have that mindset after losing the football game. So I'm hoping that was the case there with that performance there. The one thing that I did like, though, is blitzing the quarterback more, making them not just rely on the four guys up front. You will have to get after the quarterback, especially if it's Drew Aller. You have to make him move, make him uncomfortable, get him off of his spot and throw off platform. Last year he struggled with that. He struggled throwing a lot of completions. So I think you make that happen and then you keep blitzing to shore up the run. So with that said, I do think this is going to be I say lower scoring just compared to what I don't even know what the over under is at. But ultimately for me, I'm going Ohio State 24, Penn State 13.
So you don't know Bo. You talk about York County's own homegrown kid, Bo Prebola. You don't know Bo. And Bo is going to come and bring damage to Ohio State if he plays. I'm not worried if it's Aller or if it's Bo. I'm telling you right now, Penn State is ready for this football game. Franklin said it all year. He said it all year. It doesn't mean nothing until we beat Ohio State and Michigan. Doesn't mean anything. This is the game circled on the calendar. You thought last week a 7:30 game at Wisconsin was going to be tough for Penn State? Nope. Lost their quarterback in the first half. You don't know Bo. 11 for 13 on the road with a touchdown pass to seal the game. Penn State is ready for this one. Their defense is better. Their run game is better. They are better. Penn State wins.
Gene sounds like me from last year. So here's what I'll say. Beginning of the year, I would have been crazy on one side of this game.
Then you realized how soft Ohio State was. I get it.
I wouldn't say I realized that. I already knew that. I thought they'd evolved a little bit. I don't know if they have. I will tell you this. I think both these coaches, their habit is when they get into tight games, they abandon the run too early. That has been my one gripe with Jason Day for a long time. And James Franklin, the list goes on and on. I'm actually going to do something for the first time I've ever done on this show, and I'm going to give James Franklin a little bit of credit on this. I think him saying what he said about Drew Aller was smart, and I'll tell you why. It doesn't allow Ohio State to zone in on how they're going to prepare defensively for this game, and I'll tell you why that matters. If Drew Aller plays, they're going to play their normal offense. It's going to be very pro-style offense. They'll run the ball. They'll try to get the ball to Tyler Warren, spread the ball around, yada, yada, yada. If Bo does play, you're going to see more of the hybrid option / RPO / offense that Jalen Daniels ran in Kansas for the last couple of years, which is what they brought the OC over to Penn State for, which is why they were so gung-ho on getting Bo to sign it and not transfer out, because he's going to be the guy of the future that's going to run the offense the way they want, that they plan on doing so. There's a reason why Navy is successful every year. There's a reason why Army is successful every year. You don't, when you're prepping for a week, you don't prep against the option a lot. You don't see it a lot. It's hard to defend because you're just not used to doing it. If Bo starts for Penn State, you're going to see it. I've said it for three straight years now. It happened a little bit in the Oregon game. I think Ohio State is always talented offensively. I think they're always good offensively. The backbone, the weakness of that team has been the defense for the last 3 years. I haven't seen anything this year to change my mind. I think if Penn State has the balls to sit there and not get away from the run game and get this game into the fourth quarter, I think they can beat Ohio State. I think Will and all those guys on the offense are going to make their plays. I also know if this game gets out of hand or Ohio State gets behind, they'll stop running the ball, which is going to play into Penn State's defensive. It's going to play right in their hands. If James Franklin can stay out of the way, I think Penn State has a clear path to victory this week. At home in that environment, I almost think a loss for Ohio State to some degree is a good thing for them. They have to toughen up eventually, and if they don't, they're just going to keep losing these type games. I'm going to go out and limb, and I'll say screw it. I think Penn State wins 27-24. I think it's a great game. I think Penn State's going to play – I think they're going to play physical ball. And teams that do that against Ohio State, they're successful. I'm going to go Penn State with the upset. I think this is kind of to Cottrell's kind of – I mean, Ohio State's favored. It's an upset. I think to Cottrell's point earlier with Georgia, though, I think this will be the straw that kind of breaks the back with Ohio State. Probably bad thing for me, but I think if they lose this game, I think this is the wake-up call, and I think you see a very different, aggressive Ohio State the rest of the year.
Just a little news update. Aaron Judge went deep, a 2-run homer, and followed up by a Jazz Grissom home run, 3-0 Yankees first inning. But guys, I mean, if we don't have anything else, Cottrell seems very content in not arguing with me this week, and that's okay. He understands that I'm probably just going to make an ass out of myself and make stuff up that's not really real. I'm perfectly fine with that.
There is. It's easy to have a quiet confidence in your team when they are that good.
Franklin.
That too. I mean, that trust me, it doesn't help you.
No, it doesn't. I'm perfectly fine with that.
I would. I mean, listen, not for nothing, man. Both their records against top 5 and top 10 teams suck. So one of them has to win on Saturday. Somebody's getting a boost in the old resume. But
I will say a lot of Ryan Day's top 10, top 5 wins are versus James Franklin. So
it's fair.
James Franklin, I think, is 1-6 or 1-5 against Ohio State since he's been there. So
I'm shocked he's ever beat Ohio State. I don't even know how. What was the game he won?
The crazy one, block kick,
the block field goal. Franklin he hasn't beaten a top 5 opponent since October 22nd, 2016. He's lost 10 straight. And Day has lost 4 straight. Hasn't beaten a top 5 opponent since 2022.
I can't listen. My confidence in Penn State is absolutely superficial. Like, it's not real. It's but I'm going to root for them like hell, and I'm going to get hype behind them.
Both teams at times this year have looked absolutely incredible, and both teams this time of the years have looked very marginal. It's who's going to show up, who's going to play.
I'm not gonna lie to you, man.
Like, going to do what?
If Bo plays, I'm not even that worried. He's your kid. He's from the area. Like I.
You know who else is from the area? Will Howard. Will Howard said, "You guys didn't want me. I got something to show you on Saturday." He said, "I got something to show you on Saturday."
Ohio State didn't want me to stop.
Hey, we weren't playing Will. You know, it wasn't personal with us. He's also not from Ohio, so it's different.
Let's get into NCAA. Oh, yikes.
Yeah, we suck.
Yeah. 0-3 week did me in.
All right, well, I'll still lead off. That's fine with me. That's what I'm going to do because you guys know way more about college football than I do, and I'm not going to pretend I do. But I will tell you this. You know who looks really good playing football? Indiana. And I don't know if I'm missing something, but Indiana -8 over Sparty. I love that. I'll give me Indiana minus the 8 points over Michigan State. I'll take Indiana. They look really good at football. Another situation, a sneaky little team. Jim Moore is a good coach. UConn has been playing well. Give me UConn -7.5 over Georgia State. I picked UConn multiple times in the show, and they've done well for me. Last but not least, they gave Ohio State all they could handle last week. Give me cosplay Patrick Mahomes and Nebraska -6.5 over UCLA. And then for my super dog, you guys are going to be shocked at this one. You know who's been playing really good football? You know who's been a lot better than they're expected? Who has a ridiculous schedule? Give me Florida +16.5 at Georgia. I like Florida to cover this spread. I think the game's going to be a lot closer. And Florida's 4-3. They're playing good football. They gave everything that they can handle to Tennessee, and they absolutely dominated last week. So I like Florida in this game. Give me Florida +16.5 to keep it close versus Georgia.
Leader of the DJ Lagaway train, by the way. So I love that pick.
Our show definitely mentioned DJ Lagaway before anybody else, I promise you.
Love that.
Me and Control know who he is for a while.
I don't know who normally goes 2 and 3. Is it Charlie 2, Control 3? Okay.
Doesn't matter how you want to do it, Bill.
I'll go. I'm going to start SEC country. I'm going to go Arkansas +7 at home against Ole Miss. Ole Miss just hasn't looked the same the last couple of weeks. Arkansas has already beaten a couple of good teams at home. They're going to play tough in front of a home crowd. Not saying Ole Miss doesn't win the game. Full 7. I think worst case I probably push. But I'll take Arkansas +7. Second game, this is one of those lines that came out that befuddled me. Illinois, who's ranked 24th, stayed with Penn State, beat Michigan. Has played well in pretty much everybody big game except for Oregon last week. But they're home against Minnesota, and they're a 3-point underdog. I'll take that all day. I'll take Illinois and the 3 points at home. I think they're basically the same team. I think Illinois has a better quarterback in Altmaier. I'll take Illinois. Last but not least, Air Force, who is absolutely terrible this year, at Army -21.5. I will take Army. Then you're going to look to stay unbeaten and not repeat, what happened to Navy last week versus Notre Dame. But I think coming off a bye week as well, I think Army will be ready to go. Air Force has gotten blown out by almost everybody they've played this year. Really, really down year for them. So I will go with Army big. And then my super dog, I'm going Duke at Miami +21.5. Duke is 6-2. They're not flashy. They're not sexy. But they have a pretty good defense, and they stay in every game that they're in. And Miami has been, for the most part, the last month and a half, been teetering on the edge of being in games they should lose, pulling out games at the very end. I think Miami wins the football game. I think Duke keeps it close. ACC contest, I'll take Duke +21.5.
So weird because I have games that actually match both of you guys this week. So I'll start with the first one. I was like Bill, that Illinois +2.5 line. It just something on that line absolutely reeked to me. Coming off of an absolute drubbing at Oregon, and you get to go home and face a Minnesota team who's decent. I guess they're better than I thought they would be this year, but Illinois is a better football team, so I don't understand how they could be dogs in that one. So I like Illinois +2.5. For me, this feels like a repeat of last week, the UCF BYU line. Clearly, we saw how that game went. I'm rolling with the better football team that my eyes have shown me so far this year. Second game, I like going to Gene's realm here. I like Nebraska -6.5 at home versus UCLA. UCLA is not a good football team, and we talked about it on Coast to Coast last week. For whatever reason, these terrible schools that have to travel across the country, they don't fare too well. So I like Nebraska to cover the 6.5 there and take care of business against UCLA. And then the last game, I like Syracuse to bounce back from the Kyle McCord shit show that he had to cover the 3.5 +3.5 at home versus Virginia Tech. I think the Syracuse team is much better than they showed. I also think Pitt is a good football team. They're undefeated, and you're going to see that in the game against SMU on Saturday. But I like Syracuse to cover that. Well, ultimately win the football game, but at +3.5, definitely taking that there. And then the last one, just like Bill, I'm also on the Blue Devils. Give me Duke plus 21.5 at Miami. Miami's been begging to get beat for a month, and Duke's been quietly playing really good football. No one was expecting this team with Malik Murphy at quarterback to be 6-2 this point in the year after losing Mike Elko. So I think Duke's going to give Miami all that they can handle, and I honestly would not be surprised if Duke won this football game. So I like them to cover, and I wouldn't be surprised they ultimately won.
Can I switch my Super Dog? I'm kidding. Love that pick, but I really just think Florida's playing really good football, and I just think the Florida-Georgia line game is going to be fun.
I agree, especially a neutral site in Jacksonville. I think it's
biggest cocktail party of the year.
All right, well, I just wanted to kind of get just a quick update 1 week into the NBA season. Right now, Cottrell, you got to be feeling great about your Cleveland Cavaliers. They're absolutely beating the crap out of the Lakers, who were one of my surprises. The first 4 games of the season, that JJ Redick has looked really good as a head coach. And what I mean by that is the Lakers offense looks like it has absolute rhythm to it. Everyone's moving without the ball. It's not stay and pray offense. They look good. They lost a game to Phoenix, in which JJ Redick put it perfectly, because Kevin Durant and Devin Booker had a bunch of contested 2-point shots.
Yep.
I love the way he speaks, and I really do like how the Lakers have looked to start the season. But you know who's looked better? The Cleveland Cavaliers. They're 4-0, and they're up 20 over the Lakers in the third quarter after a 42-point outburst in the first quarter. Cottrell, tell us what we should be looking out for your Cavaliers. Is this a year where the Cavs can make a run towards the Eastern Conference Finals? We obviously know they're not going to the finals, but can they make a run to the Eastern Conference Finals this year?
It's tough to say. I think the roster as currently constructed, I still don't think so. I think with the way that the East looks right now and the overlaying theme of the East is tall athletic wings that can score. I think we still lack that, and we lack playing guys on the court that you can rely on for offense that can also defend. Isaac Okoro is one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, but he can't score, so you can't have him out there at all times and things like that. Dean Wade is a solid defender, but again, offensively, he can hit threes for you, but not the same as going up against an OG Anunoby or a Jason Tatum or a Jaylen Brown or Paul George. There's levels to it. So I still think that's ultimately going to be their deficiency there. I've never been a believer outside of Steph and Clay. I think they are the literal true outlier. I don't think you can win when your best 2 players are guards and smaller guards at that. So I think it's fun, and I think they are going to be tough to beat on a night in and night out basis, just because of the way the offense has looked, the way that they have bought in defensively, the way that Darius Garland has gotten his confidence back. This is a kid who 2 years ago was an all-star, and last year had the orbital fracture, and he missed a lot of time because of injuries. And you could tell in the playoffs he wasn't too confident in his game. And this year with the new coach, he's showing a lot more confidence. And you know what Donovan Mitchell is going to bring to the table. Evan Mobley seems like he's about to take that next step as well. So I still think they're a piece or 2 away from being like serious contenders. But I definitely love the way that the direction of the team is going so far.
Another topic I wanted to bring up on the show, and I'll go right to Charlotte with this one. It's funny because both of these topics I wanted to bring up are making me eat my words. Boston looks unbeatable. They're 4-0. They're down 11 right now to Indiana. But Boston looks really good coming back from their championship run. Tatum, Brown, Derek White, Drew Holiday, Average Al. Like Peyton Pritchard is 100% one of those guys that is going to get real good consideration for 6th man of the year. He's got 25 points. He was 8 of 11 from 3 the other night. Are the Boston Celtics just the only team in the East this year?
I don't think they're the only team in the East. I just think they're the best team in the East. I think it's something drastic with, barring any kind of injury, major injury to like a Tatum or a Brown or somebody like that. They've put together a very good, complete roster. Their 2 best players are tied up for the next 6-7 years, whatever it is. They've done a great job of putting that team together. Guys that are unselfish, guys that know their roles. Like you said, developing young guys like Pritchard that are now coming off the bench as their 6th or 7th guy and giving instant offense. They're just better than everybody else.
Well, what I mean by only team in there is like in the West, you could see Dallas or Oklahoma City or Denver getting back in or Minnesota. Like, is Boston, like, is there another team in the East you're like, they could win the NBA Finals? I don't see it.
No.
Maybe I'm missing it. I think the only team that could win the NBA Finals in the East is the Boston Celtics.
I agree. I think barring something crazy happening, and, I don't want to put any bad, voodoo out there. If that team is still intact the way it should be at the end of the season, I don't think anybody have it be the Sixers, the Knicks, the Bucks. Orlando's not ready. None of those teams are going to beat them in a 7-game series to go to the finals.
Speaking of the 76ers, Joel Embiid, the 76ers were fined $100,000 for, withholding information of Joel Embiid's injury. Not shocked. He has a knee injury, as well as Paul George, who hurt it in the preseason.
Knee injury.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they say he's 30 pounds lighter, Chow.
It's funny because the other conflicting reports say he's not in shape at all. And he came over from the Olympics and he didn't do a damn thing. So 30 pounds later, you would think that would help that knee a lot. But
I just don't know how you go play Olympic basketball and are offended that you're not getting playing time. And then all of a sudden in the offseason, there's no reports at all of any injuries. And then the season's ready to start. And all of a sudden it's a bad knee.
It's funny because in a statement, the league cited comments made by President of Basketball Operations Daryl Morey and Coach Nick Nurse that were inconsistent with Joel Embiid's health status in violation of the NBA rules. That's what they got fined for. The NBA said it's confirmed that Embiid has been unable to play so far this season because of a left knee condition. What does a left knee condition mean?
It's not conditioned to play basketball at this moment.
They just signed this man to an extension, man. That is going to be one of the worst extensions ever. The guy's not going to play 40 games this year.
We said it on the back half of that contract. It's going to be one of, if not the worst contract in basketball, because you're not going to be able to move it, and you're not going to be able to sign pieces that you need to seriously compete at that point.
I'm not kidding when I ask this question. It's not a joke. I actually really thought about this number. The amount of games that Joel Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey play on the court the same time, 30, over, under.
Under.
I go slightly over. As soon as you said it, my first number was 33. So I'll go slightly over, but if you give me 40, I'm definitely going under. Even 35, I'm going under.
39 was the line that was set.
It was 38.5. Yeah. That was the original line set on FanDuel that you could bet before the season started.
Under. I think it goes under. Maybe not under 30, but it definitely goes under 39.5, 38.5, whatever it was. This team as a whole, they're going to play a strategy of trying to get them healthy in the playoffs. You might mess around, not make the playoffs, just playing
the play-in and have to work your way.
Such a joke. I'm so sick of this team, man. I really am ready. And they're talking about that stadium in Chinatown. I am so sick of this team. I'm not kidding with you. I've never been so close. I love basketball. You guys know how much I love the sport of basketball, how much I watch a ton of basketball. I've never been so close to give up on a Philadelphia team as I am with the Sixers. And when I mean give up, I mean pick a different team. Like, I've never done that, dude. I'm 39 years old. I've never even thought about rooting for another team.
I will tell you, this is where I'm at. I'm not to the point where I'm going to pick another team, but it's like ever since we got JoJo and this whole group, there's still the preseasons always come with excitement and hope and everything else, and it's this year it's not. It's such a typical roller coaster. It's the same thing every year. He'll come back soon. Paul George will come back, and this is what's going to happen. They're going to win a bunch of games. They're going to be up around 2 or 3 seed. We'll go to Christmas. He'll probably have a great Christmas Day game. Shortly thereafter, he'll get hurt. They'll go a little bit of a slide. He'll come back. Paul George will get hurt, and then they'll both barely be back in time to be healthy for the playoffs, and we'll go out in the second round. There's your Sixers season for this year. Same damn thing as it is every other goddamn year. It's not going to change while he's on the team. It's like clockwork. It's to the point where I never thought I would like casually follow them, and that's where it's going to be for me this year. I'm kind of back in on the Flyers. Not that they're going to be good, but they have so many young kids that are playing that are going to be superstars in 2 years that I'm just going to invest my time on that because I know what they're going to be. I'd rather do that than sit there and watch Joel show up in a sweatsuit and sit there and act like he doesn't give a shit, not play till game 20. I'm just over it, man. I've given that dude way too many chances and way too many, shots at all this, and I'm good.
Down 15 at home to the 0-4 Detroit Pistons is never.
Yeah, because Tyrese is out there fighting for his goddamn life by himself, dude. Oh, let's sign Paul George to this crazy deal. And as soon as we sign him, well, he's hurt. Shocker.
Guys, we'll talk obviously a lot more NBA. Want to recap the UFC card that just happened. I think that it was a fun card. It was a really, there was not to me, there wasn't surprises. Just in my eyes, there was a lot of, it was fun to watch. Let me be clear when I say that. Nothing surprised me about the card except that Max Holloway got stopped. But what the card was a lot of really fun fights to watch, interesting, and more dominant performances than you'd expect. I'll start with the co-main event of the evening. Hamza Chimaev, granted, doesn't fights every 2 years. He ran through Robert Whittaker like a hot knife through butter. He made him look like he was not a 185-pound fighter. He bullied him, he threw him on the ground, and he literally disintegrated his jaw. That is dominance, and I wish the UFC could figure out a way to get this guy fighting on a regular fight schedule 2-3 times a year because he's exciting to watch. I want to see, like, he's going to kill Drake. If they put him in the ring with Duplessis, he's going to kill Duplessis. That fight's not going to be close. It's not. I want to be able to watch him in more fights that matter, and he's got to figure out a way to be consistent and fight on on a regular UFC fight schedule. What were your thoughts on Robert Whittaker, Hamza Chimaev, Cottrell?
I mean, for me, it was pretty evident, from the start. He ran him down, got on his back, and then you saw him crank his jaw. I think, obviously, the performance itself was incredible, and you know what Hamzat is. He's an absolute monster, and the only person that we've seen stand even remotely of a chance with him so far is Gilbert Burns. And it's not like Robert Whittaker is just this bum. Like, obviously, he's not in his prime right now, but Robert Whittaker is still a guy who has recently fought Dricus Duplessis. Like, he's fought top guys in this division before, and we haven't seen him look embarrassed like this by any of those guys. Granted, he may have gotten finished, may have gotten subbed and things like that, but it hasn't looked as dominant as Hamzat came in the cage and made it look. I mean, this was a first round beating that he put on him. He literally cracked his jaw. He had teeth sitting on his tongue after the fight. He tapped in just like a second and a half. Like, that's how strong this guy is and how monstrous he can be on the ground. Now, with all of that said, and as impressive as a win that was, I still don't think Dana's going to give him a title shot after this one fight. And it's because of his lack of activity. I don't think Dana wants a champion that's going to be fighting once a year, if that. Like, if he gets lucky, he gets a fighter in there once a year. Because I agree with you, Gene. I think he would kill DDP. So with that said, if you can't trust this guy to be your champion and you've seen him have problems make weight in the past. We've seen him have problems with cuts. So if, let's say, just look at the future here. You got a Hamzat versus Izzy card. That could sell a lot of money because Izzy is a star and Hamzat is the attraction, like in terms of the fighting style.
Yeah.
You can't just go out and trust Hamzat to make this weight or do things like that. So I think Hamzat's going to have to fight somebody else, whether it be a Sean Strickland as like a number one contenders match, or if maybe he does match up ultimately with Izzy and say, hey, if you beat Izzy, we're going to throw Sean Strickland in there with Dricus just because he was a former champion and he got to win since he relinquished the belt. So he's just next up in line there, and he's always active. I think it could be something along the lines of that. But I don't see Dana just saying, hey, dominant win. We know how much of a beast you are, and we're going to just throw you in there with Dricus and see if you can take the belt off of him.
Shall we?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both you guys. He's just got to be available to fight. I mean, it's a guy that I think Dana would love to be a main attraction and one of his top 2 or 3 draws in the company because he's so destructive. I mean, honestly, like Cottrell described what happened, but like, when's the last time you guys saw a guy sitting there with like his jaw broken and just like eating his own teeth? Like the dude's a monster. And again, Robert Whitaker's not some bum off the street. He's been in top 3 in that division for 4 or 5 years, and he's mauled him. He's like a bear. Like, there's no way that Dana doesn't want to put this guy on 2 to 3 pay-per-views a year and just watch him destroy people. I don't know what his deal is. I don't. But I don't know if Izzy actually takes that fight, if I'm being honest. And I don't think you give him a title shot because, like you said, with issues before with weight and stuff like that, I don't think you can get DDP through a whole camp and then have him not make weight 2 days before. That's a disaster, which we don't want to see for a title shot. I guess it's disappointing that he can't fight 2-3 times a year.
Yeah.
And I don't know why
his travel restrictions now. And I give Dricus all the credit in the world. He called him out. He said, "I'll fight him in South Africa." Like, Duplessis said he wants to fight Hamzat. That's what he literally just said in the media. Dana's going to make the fight he wants to make. If it's going to be Strickland or Hamzat, but Duplessis, I'll travel to South Africa to fight him. Whatever we need to do, we'll do it to fight. I know he has travel restrictions. That's what he said recently. But on Good Guy, Bad Guy, which by the way is a really good show. If you guys haven't watched it yet, Daniel Cormier, Chael Sonnen, it's a very good show. Chael Sonnen said his understanding Sean Strickland is next.
Yeah, that's what I would expect. Sean said that too. Sean went on Twitter and said he expects to be next, and Hamzat can do all the talking he wants to. He's got to wait his turn.
I'll tell you right now, if Sean Strickland does fight Dricus, selfishly, I'll be rooting for Sean Strickland to win that fight because I would love nothing more than to watch the press conferences, the lead up, and the fight of Shemaiah versus Strickland. That would be incredible.
Yeah, I mean that's probably gonna get out of hand at some point, but yeah, it will be entertaining for sure.
All right, let's talk about the main event of the evening. And I had this fight 1-1 going into the third round, and I thought that Max Holloway was fighting with him. I thought it was a really good fight, but man, there's something about Ilya that's just different, right? The guy's got unbelievable power that I don't think anyone's ever seen at the 145 weight division, including with Conor McGregor. Ilya's power just seems different. He, to me, and yes, what's next for Ilya? I think what's next for Ilya, they put Volk in there. They're like, we're going to have another Volk fight. I think what's next for Ilya is moving on to 155. Let's get him versus Islam. Let's watch those two monsters fight each other. Because Ilya knocking out Max Holloway the way he did, he just feels special. He feels like a different kind of fighter. I don't know if you want to like unload the gun already and get him at 155 and really tear down one of your two absolute monsters. But man, that's a fight I would want to see. Give me Islam versus Ilya. That's something I want to watch.
I wouldn't unload it now, only because I think there are still there's stuff that you still want to see.
What do you want to see? 145. You really want to see that rematch?
It's not that I necessarily want to see it, but I think Volk has kind of earned that. Volk was the champion for a long time there. He was the featherweight GOAT, essentially, the way that he was fighting there. And I get it. Ilya definitely made work of him, but I would definitely want to see that before I saw Ilya versus Islam at this point. Only because, like you said, Gene, to your point exactly, yeah. You do not want to tear down Islam, because if Ilya becomes double champ there, and then it's like, all right, well, he's got shit ton of contenders at 155 that he could face there, but then at 145, it's like, all right, eventually, because of there's so many people at the 55 level that Ilya would need to fight that we haven't seen before, essentially you'd make him relinquish the belt. Because, I mean, double champ status, we really never see people fighting back and forth weight classes. Like, it just doesn't happen. They may go up, they win, they settle that there, but we really don't see them go back and forth all like that. So then we'd be looking at Volk versus Max again for the vacant belt there. And I just don't think that that's the future of that 145 class. But to Ilya's credit, man, he's special. If you can go in there and dominate Volk on the ground in their fight and then come out this fight and outbox Max Holloway, then, I mean, you're on a different level. And
what do you think about the idea? I mean, Aljamain Sterling's already coming up. He's going to be fighting in 145. He's got a fight versus Mavsar at 145. What do you think of Sean O'Malley coming up also? I don't mean to look, Sean O'Malley just had Merab just ran through him, and I get it. But what do you think of those two fighters coming up to 145 division and squaring up with Ilya and being able to get those fights in there before you got an Islam fight?
See, I don't think it's necessary right now. Obviously, with Sterling, it's a different case because he is a former champion, and I think you can throw him in there. But you still got Diego Lopez, who's a fast-rising contender who was at that fight, and he's also coming off a win. I think that would make a ton of sense there. And then you also have Arnold Allen, who's another young kid that's fast-rising that can be in that championship mix. So I think there are still fights to make there, not to mention the Volk fight that I think Volk has done enough to earn his second, shot to get his belt back. I think he's done enough in that division to garner a rematch. So I mean, I just think it's a ton of guys already there that you can see him fight, and I think even adding in a O'Malley or Aljamain, I think it would make sense, but I think those are stuff that you look at down the line. O'Malley's got to work on getting his belt back first before I even think about pushing him up to that 45 ranks.
I don't know if he wants to get back in there with Merab. Shally, what's your thoughts?
I mean, I really don't. I don't have any opinion per se different than anything what you guys said already. I wouldn't pull the trigger on him in Islam. I think there's too many other interesting fights to make. And to Cottrell's point, I think you bury one because the double champ thing is just so hard to do. It's so hard to yo-yo back and forth between weight classes, constantly defend one, then get ready for the other one. It's just too much. You ultimately end up, putting one of the weight classes on hold. You look at the whole Conor thing, and then eventually, like Cottrell said, you just end up, vacating one of the belts anyway, or you get interim champs, which is stupid on its own right. So I don't pull the trigger on that yet until I think you're comfortable that both those divisions have been completely cleaned out. I wouldn't say of everybody, but of people that you legitimately think could be belt holders and carry a division. So I think there's probably 2 or 3 guys per division. If they're both standing come, say, late 2026, then super fight it. Why not? Yeah.
I'm interested to see that.
And I think the other thing, too, is that, I mean, Islam is essentially one fight away from potentially fighting at 170 for that belt. I think you get Shavkat versus whoever, who's the champion now? Who just beat Leon? Against Bilal. You get Shavkat versus Bilal. But then after that, Islam should be next in line for what he's done at 155. So I just think that would be a better way to go as opposed to burning either Islam or Ilya. Essentially, if you get Bilal versus Islam, that's a loss. If Islam, you lose the fight, it's like, all right, well, we saw Izzy go up to 205 and lose, and it wasn't the worst thing in the world. It was like, all right, he came back down, he was still dominant. In the Ilya and Islam, I just don't know if that juice be worth the squeeze right now.
All righty, let's get into You Gotta Be Kidding Me, fellas.
All right, so this week for me, I'm rolling with Mr. Anthony Richardson of the Indianapolis Colts. So we talked a ton about him. Earlier, and to what we said, we put a lot of that. I don't even know what the right word for. We put a lot of the issues on the Colts ownership, their GMs and things like that. We knew this kid was a project coming in, and you've given up on him after 10 games. However, Anthony Richardson is the one that essentially gave them that out, because there was a play in the third quarter where he's scrambling out and he makes a couple defenders miss. He scrambles for a 1 or 2 yard gain, and then as soon as the play is over, he taps his head, signaling to his coach that he wants to come out of the game. Typically, it's because you're winded or because of an injury, something along the lines of that. Instead of just kind of leaving it, ambiguous, he went out to the press conference afterwards, after the game, when they asked him about it. And his answer, granted, he didn't lie about it, but his answer was, not going to lie to you guys, I was just tired. I felt like I couldn't go for that next play. That is not the mindset that you can have as a quarterback, one. And then two, you're an athletic quarterback. You are literally a running quarterback. You didn't run far. It's not like you scrambled and ran for 50 yards. You scrambled probably 20 yards in the backfield. You had a 1 or 2 yard gain, and then you tap your head. And not to mention, you have the guy that's literally right behind you that is begging to take your job. While you were hurt, he did nothing but ball out with the Colts. When football games looked better, the offense was more fluid, you quite literally handed Joe Flacco your starting job. So this week for me, Anthony Richardson coming in the game, apparently not being in shape, not being prepared for what the game had to offer to him. Anthony Richardson, you get this week's.
Kidding me.
It's a great one, bro. It's a great one. Shally, this is the one I wanted, but I'll tell you right now, I think that you're going to nail it, and I'm excited to hear you.
I'm going back to the Bronx with the scumbag Yankee fans. Not only did we try to reach in, interfere with play, fine. It's a World Series game. I get it. But you didn't stop there. I mean, you pretty much just try to absolutely strong arm and steal Mookie Betts' glove. I mean, that's not okay. I mean, it's a crime, actually. And then on top of everything else, then you're grabbing his other wrist. The one drunk guy with 4 chins is like trying to pull him up in the stands like they're friends, like he fell over the barrier or something. I don't know what the hell that guy was doing. I'll tell you what pissed me off the most, even more so than that, though. We're not Freddie Freeman stands on this show by any means. But for all intents and purposes, the dude's probably one of the best guys in Major League Baseball. If you don't know anything about him, you don't know anything about his childhood, about his actual kids, his family, go YouTube and you'll find the ESPN special on it. You'll probably cry because most people do. The dude's a good dude. This is where I draw the line. I know Philly has hostile crowds. I know other cities do too. The one good thing that I love that Major League Baseball does in the playoffs is they always do the stand up to cancer thing. And have it be coaches, players, the announcers, fans in the stands. They all get signs and they say, they're praying and thinking of somebody who either they've lost or somebody they know that's battling cancer. Freddie Freeman came out of dugout and put his mom's name on a stand to cancer thing. If you're not familiar, Freddie's mom passed away when he was 10 years old from melanoma. As they panned, they have this camera that pans all over the stadium and so forth and so on, and it shows people. It got to Freddie Freeman, and a whole bunch of Yankees fans started booing. And then there was one guy behind the dugout that got called on open mic right when this was happening and say, "Freeman, you suck, yada, yada, yada," and they cut the mic off. Unacceptable. Ungoddamn acceptable for me. I don't care if we threw a snowball at Santa. I don't care if you're fighting in the stands of your favorite team against your arch rival. I don't care about any of that crap. When a dude is literally playing a baseball game, remembering his mother who died when he was 10 years old, and you can't think of anything better to say or do with your time when there's an emotional moment in the stadium that say, "Freeman, you suck," I have a problem with that. That is well above and beyond anything the Phillies players have ever done, Phillies fans have ever done. New York losing in the series, showing their true colors. They're all scumbags. I hate them more now than I used to. My reign is over. New York, you can kiss my ass.
Kidding me.
So if you need a little bit of context, they have like a segment right before the game in which I stand for someone, and it's basically in New York. And my buddy Nick, I stand for his mom. His mom was, passed away, and people that were sick, died of sicknesses or cancer. And that was the moment in which Freddie Freeman was, I stand for, and his mom had lymphoma. But man, yeah, you're absolutely right. Good breakdown, Chow. Mine's the funny one. And it's kind of a two-part version, but it's the difference between Matt Eberflus and Tyreek Stevenson, and it's bad coaching, right? If you didn't watch the play, there's a Hail Mary that happened in the Washington Commanders Chicago Bears game in which Tyreek Stevenson, in the middle of the play, while the play is going on, he's on camera taunting the Commanders fans of the win that they're going to have. Hail Mary pass goes up, and Tyreek Stevenson runs over, and he is actually the guy that tips the ball that lands in the hands of the Commanders receiver to win the game. As if it couldn't get worse, as if it couldn't get any worse for them. They're coaching their press conference, zero accountability to Tyreek Stevenson. It is what it is. Then says he didn't care about the 15 to 20 yards that were given up in the play prior, allowing the Commanders to get out of bounds. I don't understand that whatsoever. If you don't allow that 15 to 20 yards, you're not in that position to where Hail Mary beats you. The Bears as a whole, Tyreek Stevenson, for taunting the crowd. It's like one of those moments where you're taunting someone, ha ha, I beat you, and then you beat them. It's almost like you're in Madden and you're talking so much smack, and then you accidentally throw a pick six, and you're like, you turn the mic off, you turn the game off. Tyreek Stevenson got caught with his hand in the cookie jar, and Matt Eberflus did nothing as far as accountability or as far as talking about the game afterwards to help himself. So the Chicago Bears and Tyreek Stevenson this week are my.
Kidding me.
Gentlemen, any final thoughts?
No. Hope you have fun down in AC. Hope you win big.
I'm not gambling, sir, but thank you.
Well, I hope you win in other ways then.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to a Halloween possum, going to Gordon Ramsay's. It'll be a fun overall time. So,
what are you dressing up as?
I have a punk mask. It's tough for me to explain it, but it's like the real, TikTok's got a million of them. The punk mask. It's like a black mask. It looks pretty cool. Just gonna have a good time with a bunch of people I care about, which is fun.
Love that for you.
Appreciate you guys. Appreciate everybody tuned in this week to Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. I'm Wire2Wire Gene. That's Kent State's own, Cleveland's own College Control. Scholastic Shy, Uncle Shy, Mr. William Shawcross. And we are signing out.